everyone to of the Publishing Persuasion. I am here with Australian Lightning herself. She is the emu queen. Apparently, she is also the defender of how you say things properly. Melanie, you look amazing. You've got beautiful art and plants behind you. Welcome, and how are you?
I'm good. The funny part is I actually don't give a shit how people pronounce things, but I just love taking the mickey out of you.
I love it too. I think it's really funny, honestly. I've never thought of an emu so much in my life.
Same.
And now all I think about are these damn chicken dinosaur looking things.
You killed me in our Discord when you took the piss out of yourself. And you were like, trust Americans to rename an Australian icon bird.
It's true. We're like, nah, that's not right.
Ours is better.
Yeah. We do it better. It's just period. What do you want me to tell you?
Yeah. You look cute today. What's on your blouse?
It's like a bunch of, look at the arms.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm in a dress, like a little frothy dress.
A little frothy dress? Why is it frothy?
I don't know. What?
Oh, it's pretty. Oh, it's because you just went to see Taylor Swift, isn't it? It's very Taylor Swifty.
Yes, I'm feeling like in my Eras tour. I'm feeling very frothy and flowery.
Yes. Well, it's giving. It's giving. How have you been, my friend?
I've been good, honestly. I finished with the revisions of this round of A Cruel Thirst.
Did you?
Yes.
Holy shit. You need to buy another laptop to congratulate yourself. That was, I feel like you just started that, 2 weeks ago, if that.
It feels like, I think it was like a solid 3.5 weeks, I feel like. Yeah. It was a very intense month I've had. But yeah, it went by. I did it. And I feel really good about the changes that we've made so far. So it's off to the editor. And then I've also have a few beta readers reading it. So it was amazing. My friend Rachel, she actually is the one that took my pictures, my author pictures.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, she's a writer too. But she's she reads books. She can read a book a day. She reads fast. So I gave her A Cruel Thirst, just kind of thinking
yeah,
get to it whenever. She read it in a night. She read it all.
Love that.
Yeah. And she called me and broke everything down. And we talked about it. And I was just she got everything I was trying to do in this round. She picked up on it and she had no idea that's what I was going for. And she got it. So I was like, thank God. Because I had no idea if I was totally butchering this book, but feel good.
I didn't think you could. Honestly, I read well, it wasn't your first draft. I think you did a few edits over it before you sent it to me, but it was already glorious then. Anything you do, any changes, whatever. But it's like you said, the heart of the story was there and the characters were there. And I think wherever you take that heart and those characters will be incredible. And I think you really shine in revisions, to be honest. You're quick and you're thorough and you are very good at just freaking pivoting whichever way you need, but making it better every time you pivot, I think.
Thank you. I really hate the first draft. I hate writing the first draft. It's so hard. It's hard.
It is hard. And I don't know about you, but when I'm doing it, I feel like I have to really consciously check myself to not constantly be going, 20,000 words. So you're not even a fucking quarter of the way, whatever it is, mentally being just not checking the word count. Cause it feels like that age old looking into the distance and the hill is still there. It's really is
Yeah.
a lot like mountain climbing, isn't it? Like for ages, it just seems like you're never going to reach the peak. It's just in the distance, and suddenly, oh, you're done. The draft's done.
Yeah. Then you get to sit on your ass and just look at the view.
I guess editing is walking back. So
Oh, yes.
trek, you know your way, but you've
Yeah.
still got to do it.
I love that. I love that. And like what we were talking about with Regina, our guest today, like she's a heavy plotter. And I kind of thought, I want to try that this time. And like,
Really?
you know, see. I mean,
Yeah.
you don't have to stick to it, but like just trying and see where it takes you. Who knows?
You know what? There's nothing wrong with experimenting. And there have been books that I attempted to heavy plot for. And even though I would say that, like, oh, it didn't work out for me, whatever, but looking back, none of that plotting is ever wasted. Even if you don't use the specific plot or whatever that you were doing then, or the character arc or whatever, but all of it kind of helps you to know your characters and what you don't want in the story, even if you don't use it. I really feel that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, well done. That's a freaking heroic effort. And you've been working full time, and was it school holidays as well? Did you have the kids at home as well?
Yeah, the kids are home, but the kids are older. So, but they have a lot of activities. You know, we've got cheerleading and buddies and, you know, work. My daughter started working this summer, so I've been driving like crazy, like just a mad woman. But you know, you just do it whenever you can.
Yeah.
You just gotta survive. So but
we're just taking a moment to appreciate Angela Montoya. You're a legend.
Yeah.
You've done amazing.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, next week, actually on Sunday, we're driving down to go to Disneyland for a few days. So I'm not writing. You know, I won't be on my phone. Well, I probably will be. Let's be honest. I'll be on my phone. There's lines, right? You're going to be in lines, so you'll be on your phone. But no writing. I'm going to just refill the well and take it in. So
good.
Yeah.
And don't be surprised. We always know that if you have that emo moment of the drop, the post drafting, editing hangover, be prepared that you can have that too. And we'll hug that feeling and let it go. You're going to remind yourself it's okay to have this week off. Your career will be flourishing even with a week. I'm saying this because I've been saying this to myself. Well,
I know you have.
Even like yesterday, okay, like, yes, this week has been interesting because I thought it would be the week that I seriously started writing again. But then I also kind of gave myself permission during this move to like not pressure myself, you know? Because like I've done that for several books, you know, like, and I will do that again. But I was just like, it's like kind of, and I think maybe because I write full time, sometimes it's very hard to give myself permission to take time off and not feel like lazy or wasting time.
Right.
I was like, no, fuck it. You've got to take time, like actual time off too. So like yesterday, I was like, yeah, I'm going to work on Swamp Princess. And then I saw Heartstopper season 2 had dropped. Have you seen it yet?
Not yet.
You've seen season 1?
Oh, yes. Gobbled it up.
So I saw it yesterday. I was like, how did I not know it was coming today or whenever it came, a few days ago, maybe? I literally was like, I'll just put on a little bit while I have my lunch. False. Like hours later, like I lived on chips and yogurt yesterday. And I have one episode left. I just like clung to the and I was just like, but isn't this why I wanted to like write full time anyway? So I could have days where I do that. But sometimes it's hard to give yourself permission to have those days. But I'm like, no, I've got to like enjoy the perks of it as well. And like today I want to binge Heartstopper. So I've been
damn it. And you should. So you should. And it's all filling the well. So it's not a wasted day because literally you're just gobbling up like good show and good story and sweetness and the whole bit.
So good. I've cried like 10 times just out of like pure emotion and joy.
Oh, that's the best.
They killed it. Like I don't know if you read the graphic novels when did you do the graphic novels first?
No, I think Alicia has, but I haven't.
You'll love them as well. I mean, the series is so good. It has basically perfectly captured the graphic, in my opinion. The
That's
way I
great.
felt when I first found those graphic novels and I just gobbled them up, the series has completely nailed it on the head. Every character, like the way they've drawn in those little feelings and like yeah, I love how they draw like when they touch in little sparks. Just like
Yeah.
during like all the high school fields and just I'm obsessed with it. It's just such a beautiful hug of a series. And
Yes. We need those. We need more of those. Just like
yeah.
sweet, special series like that. We're watching The Summer I Turned Pretty. It's on Amazon Prime. It's
It's good.
so good. Yeah, it's like that. I mean, it's just very like, first love, angsty, kind of, it's just beautiful. And it just makes you so happy to watch. It's like, I just love that first love
Yeah.
type of angst. It's just the best. You
It's
can't.
adorable. The
It,
high stakesness. Although I'd almost argue that like people think that that goes away, but I feel like in matters of the heart, no matter what age you are, it's very high stakes.
it is. It is. It's so high stakes. Everything is so big, and I love it. I love it so much. What else have I been watching?
Yeah.
Oh, that's what I wanted to. Have you watched Sex Education?
Oh, dude, that was like my bread and butter
Okay.
at one point.
Okay, good. Good. I've seen it. I've watched it. I love it. It gives me that good feeling too. I mean, it's obviously
Yeah.
a little more, mature, but it's yeah.
Or more mature. Yeah, I found that series. I think YA is always heavily criticized when there's more sexual themes in it, but it's so necessary, and that's the thing, like that stuff is like whether or not it's available for teenagers, they're experimenting anyway with all this shit, and I think that's why that kind of representation and that discussion is so important. Like I feel like most teenagers learn most of their sex ed and stuff from TV and Friends. Like, let's be honest.
Totally. Yeah, absolutely. 100%. If they're not partaking, they are thinking. They are
Right.
thinking about it. So they are watching. Trust.
I mean, I was a late bloomer, but I know my friends were doing. I honestly played with Barbies until I was like, I'd say maybe 12, 13 at least. I was still playing
I
with
love
Barbies.
that.
And I really mourned the loss of them. Like, I think
Aw.
maybe because we've talked about that when we had Nikki on, but like, it really was the early way of storytelling, the first
Yeah.
way that, like, I would construct these elaborate worlds and stories. And like, speaking of which, I haven't seen the movie yet, but I hear that it is everything. It's on my to-do
How
list.
dare you? How
I
dare
know.
you?
It sounds
I
amazing.
It's so good. It's so good. Like
Yeah.
they just hit it. They just got it right. It's so well done. It's powerful in ways that I didn't expect. And, it's like it reminds you of like childhood, but also like you're grown now and life has changed, but you still feel these feelings. And so it's so
Yeah.
good. My daughter was sobbing. Alicia was sobbing in the theater. There's just it's beautiful.
I was
Very
sobbing over a reel I saw just about it the other day. So I'm like, I'm
yeah.
preparing myself. But it almost seems as if that movie coming out has just like collectively reminded, like given people permission to like remember their love for that.
Yes.
And like
Yes.
that, like to not think of it as like a stupid thing, like, dolls and whatever, but like to think of it as like to like give themselves permission to remember as a treasured thing that they found
Yeah.
joy in. And like, yeah, I can't
No,
wait.
it's beautiful and hilarious. Absolutely so funny. So yes, obviously 5 out of 5. I highly recommend. But like, so we had just seen it. We watched Barbie, and then I think the next day, it was the next day, my Alicia and I went and saw Taylor Swift.
Yeah.
And I was just the arena, not arena, call stadium. I mean, it seats like
Were you gonna
70,000.
say Colosseum?
Yeah.
I love that journey for you.
We were in a Coliseum,
I
okay?
should
There
have.
were chariots of fire.
There might
So
have been for our Lord and Savior T Swift.
yeah, I mean, hell, there was a lot going on there. But we were in this huge stadium for like 70,000 people. And
Yeah.
I was just sitting there at one point, like during a slow song, and I was just looking out at the audience, and it was just the girls and the gays and the men that supported us, right? It was just this like beautiful mix of human beings, and they were all just in their feels. Like the lights were twinkling, people were singing their hearts out, and Taylor was on a piano, like just telling story through music.
Yeah.
And it was just this beautiful, magical moment where I was just like, wow, like the power, for one, the power of women, the power when we're all like together and just like allowed to just breathe and just be any form, any way. And then also like the power of story, because she takes you on this ride through her lyrics. And I was just sitting there like, like this is why. This is my why. Obviously I'm not a songwriter, but writing and being able to take somebody anywhere, just anywhere. It doesn't have to be, a dark place or super deep, but just taking them somewhere, I think is just so beautiful. So between Barbie and Taylor, I was just riding high this last couple days.
Your aura is sparkly, honestly. Like you can tell that your well has been a bit replenished this week.
It has. No, it has, honestly. So obviously go see Barbie.
I will. It's on my to-do list this week and I can't wait. I just like keep forgetting, honestly. Like I'm still unpacking and just got some.
Oh yeah, I guess you're busy. You're busy.
I am and I'm not. It's weird. Like but it's definitely on the high priority list. But no, I'm just so glad to hear that. And I know what you mean. There's kind of just, yeah, I think like maybe women, like some of those, I guess just in general have been, I don't know if oppressed is the right word. It sounds like a really intense word to use right in this moment. But kind of like, I think, yeah, like, and just that freedom of feeling like just leaning into ourselves more. And I think that's something that the Barbie movie seems to have really triggered, this like sense of like, yeah, I am woman, hear me roar.
No, it's true. It's true though. And just like, I think it was something Taylor Swift said one time, but like, we're allowed to be excited about things that maybe men or whoever think is whatever, if they think it's silly. We're still allowed to be excited for these moments. And it's like we're allowed to celebrate and love and be excited about anything that we want to, and there's value in it. It's like we watched so many movies growing up where it's like men and just men focused and action and blah blah blah, right? But seeing how well Barbie did in the box office and how powerful Taylor Swift and now Beyonce's, running through her tour, like women hold a lot more power than I think we've ever been allowed to like explore. And now we're seeing it, and we're like helping the economy at the same time. There's like power in the things that we love, and they don't have, just because somebody thinks it's silly doesn't mean it's silly. There's still beauty in the silliness and the fun. So,
but I love as well that you said the girls, the gays, and the men that supported us, because you know what? It's actually something as well that shouldn't be overlooked. Like, I think that there can be a bit of man hate as well out there, and rightly so in parts, but you know what? There are a lot of men who, like, I'll often say to my husband, we hate the patriarchy together. Because like, he also hates that bullshit that has been jammed down their throats since day dot, And there are men who are just like, real men are not threatened by the power of women. They lift us up and they set the fire under us and they make that foundation stable, just like real friends, real women friends, women empowering women. It's like, it's also a thing. Like there's plenty. I grew up with more jealous girls than guys. Like I had more male friends who uplifted me, and like girls can be jealous bitches too, right? They don't like to see each other succeed sometimes. Just as like, but yeah, like finding, I know what you're talking about. When you go see an artist that's really powerful, you feel like the whole audience wants to lift up and support each other. Like they're
Yeah.
just, there's a mindset, there's like a power like rippling through the crowd, and you're just like, something magic is here, you know?
Yeah. Yes, absolutely.
Mm.
So feeling very magical today.
Our conversation just went on this like wild, big magic tangent, but I really loved it.
Me too. Me too.
Isn't that why we write though? You know, like that sense of that big magic, that passion, like you said. And it's like a sense, I think it is a sense of connectivity, which is why I was fascinated talking to Regina. Like when it blew my mind that she didn't think about queering or getting published at all from like, how many books did she write?
Said
And
11, I think.
I thought
Spoiler.
she said 11. Yeah. It blew my mind.
I
But
know. And she was just doing it for the fun.
but she did have community she was sharing it with. And I think that like, uh, I feel like most creatives want their work to be seen and shared on whatever platform that is. Although I guess there would be people who just do it as like a outpouring of spirit or whatever. But I think
Yes.
in some way you find a way to connect through your creative work.
Yeah. I love it. Like, I feel like I don't like, I look back at before I started writing and like the person I was and kind of how sad of not sad, but lonely, and like didn't feel that real connection with another friend. You know, like you have friends, but it had been so long. Like you get out of high school, out of
Yeah.
college, whatever, and you turn into an adult, and it's like this weird, like, where do I belong situation, and finding writing and then the community that came along with it. Like I feel like I have friends that like, you could just bullshit with, and it doesn't even have to be about writing. It could be about whatever, but we're in this like magical sort of headspace where we're always just kind of drifting in and out of this world, and writers kind of get that. And so it's a beautiful, beautiful place. And I'm just like, I don't know what I would do if I like stopped writing. Like who would who would I talk to? I guess it would just be bookish people.
Yeah. I
Or
honestly, speaking to my heart, that's the thing. Like I said to you last week, I found that even when I gave myself permission to take this break off and not completely define myself by my writing or whatever, I still found that writing and writing community always calls me back, because yeah, it is a unique community. And I think like something I would say is, I think that like when you're really starting out, you don't feel like you have like, I don't know, it seems so out of reach. Yeah. I don't know if you remember that feeling early on, but you feel like actual published authors are so far away. But it's really not. We're all the same, beating the same heart. And like, I would say to early writers, don't limit yourself from trying to become part of these communities, because chances are, if you feel like that's your community, it probably is, you know. And like, let yourself fill those spaces and be a writer. Let yourself call yourself a writer. Let yourself call yourself an author, you know, like it's, you belong here, you know.
yep,
In case
that's it.
anyone needed to hear that today, you belong here. You're loved and welcome into the writing community. It's not as gated and closed as it seems sometimes. I think that opaqueness that Regina was talking about makes it seem that way. There's a lot of
Yeah.
there's a lot of waiting, and all writers have a whole ass other life away from the screen, and so that can make it seem as well like,
That's good. That's so true. Yeah.
Yeah, because sometimes people might not have the bandwidth to be best friends with you, but it doesn't mean they're rejecting you from the community. Do you know what I mean? Like, I find that a lot. Like, early on, I wouldn't understand that if I would like, I'd be like, oh, they're just too big and bad for me. But a lot of times it's just like, no, they just don't have the bandwidth to make another best friend because their community is already big, but it doesn't mean you're not a part of that extended community.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
No. Oh my gosh. Yes, I know what you mean. Like I'm only I don't even have a book out, right? My brain is so frazzled and
Yeah,
fried from what I've been doing and then life
yeah.
on top of that and then, all of this stuff. And so sometimes it's really hard to even write a message back. Like you said, you just don't have the bandwidth and even
Yeah.
texting family members back or whatever. Like your brain is just so overstimulated sometimes that you're like, I'll get to it later. And then later it doesn't come because you still have so much other things happening. And also like being introverted as well. Like let's just add that to the notch of things, like the list.
Yeah, you
So
get
yeah.
shy and you overthink what you're going to say, and then it's been too long since you reply, and you're like, "Oh, I'll just leave it." That's me. But like, yeah, I thought it's probably you too. So we'll just collectively say, just gentle reminder, a lot of us are introverts too, and yeah, the bandwidth can be really limited as well. Like, I'm sure that I've got a bunch of DMs if I were to ever trail through that I never got back to. And whether it was because I was having like just such a hectic week or whatever, it's just part of it, isn't it? You just can't like deal with all of it at once. But I'd like to think that the community has a bit of like give for that and understanding for that as the lovely self-aware community it tends to be.
That's right. Thank
Yeah.
goodness for that. Please, I beg of you.
Please. So you've got your week off coming up.
I do. I do. And I can't wait. Yes. Well, how about you? What are you up to? What are you doing today? Just watching
Today,
Heartstopper?
probably going to go to Big W. I don't know if you have that there. I just want to like get a few more things. Honestly, if you saw everything looks neat from here, but if you saw my bedroom, we're kind of moving in the last of our boxes and unpacking them because we kind of just moved in a skeleton of stuff for the first couple weeks. I really didn't want to like move everything and have boxes of random shit that I don't know what's in there, which is what I've always done. Just push it in a corner, whatever. But so this time I've literally been like, the other day I went through like a box filled with like, oh, like old college jacaranda, like I don't know if it's called that there. It was like with pictures of people from college and like what they were studying and all these like me and my girlfriends had this like book called Edward. And we'd put like, you know, had a moonlit walk with such and such. And we'd put like,
Whoa.
or we'd be like Sex and the City quotes. It was basically a scrapbook of like a period of college. And it was really cute. Or like things that cute boys had said to us or that kind of thing. And like finding that all and just like, but some of it, like obviously Edward stays in the treasure chest, but like some stuff you just can't hold on to every note or every like little memory. It gets like a bit, one box is nice, but like if you have just this stuff floating around, it becomes like a bit suffocating to have too much of it. So I sorted through all of that.
Very good.
Which was a mission. But like, yeah, I am getting excited to finish working on. I'm excited to get Swamp Princess in the trenches because I feel like in a way I've probably done myself a bit of a disservice by going from I started at middle grade, went to YA, went to adult, and now I'm writing middle grade again. Like I do jump around a bit, and I was thinking the other day it's probably made it a bit trickier with querying as well because honestly before writing rom-coms there was a lot of agents I was querying who are only kid lit, only YA and middle grade. And I was thinking about it, I was like, there's a whole bunch of agents I haven't even had a chance to query because I've been querying adult rom-coms the last 2 years. So a part of me is excited to have a middle grade to query. And
heck yeah.
I've been sending out a bunch more of queries. Like I've honestly just let myself be free with it now and just trust that that book's going to end up where it needs to, because yeah, it was great. Like I told you girls, I met up with my friend, with Katya, our lovely friend Katya de
We
Bessera.
love Katya. We love us some Katya.
I love us some Katya. I'm actually reading her. I may have already said this, but I'm reading her book When Ghosts Call Us Home. I'm reading it at the moment, and seriously, it's so fucking good. Like, I am so impressed. It's the perfect spooky. Oh, just like I don't do much horror, but like she always treads the line of like, I'm still here for it. Like she has me by the throat. And but no, anyway, she was telling me that like her agent, she always leaves books on submission. And I was like, it made me think about querying. And I was just like, no, like if you're always like refining and fixing it, like there's always new agents coming. Just today, I saw a new agent pop up. She hasn't even been, I think she was somewhere else before, but then they'll have like a hiatus in between. Like that thing of it only takes one, yes. But like your dream agent might not even be currently available, right?
Yeah. Yes, absolutely.
I'm just sending more queries out. It is slow though. It's really slow out there. And so I think sending more queries I feel like it always shifts the energy of the universe when I send more queries. So that's
Yes.
basically it. Sending more
Good.
queries, editing Swamp Princess, but honestly just trying to balance it out a bit more where I'm not like doing that push. You know what I mean? Like when we're talking about like that, the high energy around something like pitch wars and whatever, those moments come whether or not you're ready for them, right? And I want to stop trying to constantly create that high of those things and recharge when things are more quiet, have more of a balance so that when it's busy again, she's ready. Something like
Yeah.
that.
Yes. I am here for it.
Yeah.
Yes. Live in those quiet moments.
Yeah, 100%. But I don't have my laptop plugged in, so it's gonna die. We should probably read the bio. Anyway, there's only 5 minutes. Sorry, I went on such a tangent. You were so patient with me.
Oh, are you kidding? I feel like I was the tangenty one today. I was
No,
tangenting.
you were perfect. Your energy is so magical today. It makes me happy
Just today. Just today.
always. But I can see
Okay.
your cup has been replenished this week.
Okay. Thank you.
She
Thank you.
sparkles extra this week. Do you want me to do it this week? It's nice
Sure.
and short.
Yeah.
Regina Black is a former civil litigator, current law school administrator, and lifelong romance reader who has always been passionate about the depiction of Black women in popular culture. She currently resides in the southeastern United States with her husband and daughter. That's it.
That's the bio. That's all that needs to be said. Honestly, Regina brought us to Writer Church.
Yeah.
I mean, she hit me. I felt like I was just boom, boom, just getting knocked in the chest with all the amazing things she had to say. I was not ready for it. I was not ready for it. She's so wise and a breath of fresh air.
She is wise. She's one of those people, she's not especially like loud, but the way she speaks, you hang on her every word. Like you're kind of just waiting. What's she going to say next? What's she going to say next? It's always, yeah, surprising and wise. And there's a lot of like tips and stuff she's said in the episode, which you'll hear shortly, dear listeners, that I think is just like very good writing advice in general and life advice in general. So yeah, let's get the legend herself on. Hello.
Hello.
Regina, how are you?
I am good.
Good.
That sounds
you look
like
good.
Heavy-hearted good.
It's been a long week. It's a little bit of work.
I bet. I freaking bet. You've been busy this week. You have been all over the place.
Yeah, I've been really busy, and I also made the mistake of not completely taking off work for my day job. So lesson learned. Make a mistake.
Well,
That's a very practical thing to think about, though, is like on big events like that, just take the day off. Take the week off, whatever you got to do.
I would say definitely like take the week off, because it's like the debut day is just a torrent. It's just everything. And then the days after, it's like just fast and furious, like email things coming in and things like that. And so there's not even really a lot of time to kind of just sit and reflect and say, oh, I have a book. It's out, like people have a book. Everybody's like, are you excited? Are you this? I'm like, I don't have time to be excited. I don't have time to think about it. But yeah, so hindsight, I know better next time.
And I bet even if you had the time, it's like your brain would be so overloaded by everything going on. It's like maybe being pulled two different ways.
Yeah. It's just, and everybody says after your book comes out, there's this slump after your book comes out, like your mood kind of plummets. And I think that's different for everybody, because I think like I'm like totally in, I want to write the next book mode. So that's part of my thing. But also, like, right when your book comes out, there is this kind of flood of people reading it, like before it comes out, and just people talking to you about it and that sort of thing. And then it comes out, and a lot of that rush to, read the book, maybe to post your review or to engage with the release time, just plummets suddenly. And then it becomes more like a steady kind of, people are reading your book, people are finding it and stuff like that. And it just feels different, because it feels like, oh, I'm here. It's nonstop, bam. Oh, people are just they're reading it. Like they're walking in the store and buying it and then taking the time to read it. Just feels completely different. It's kind of like Pitch Wars.
I was just thinking that sounds exactly like the high of the showcase.
Yep.
And then the aftermath.
And then waiting.
Yes.
That's exactly what it's like. So it's interesting.
You're basically like a seasoned pro at this point in time.
You would think, yes.
It's just a roller coaster, this industry, isn't it? And like that's the thing. I find that like those highs, when they come, it's like you say, it is so intense in that moment. And then after, you can just drop back to complete silence, working at screen and not hearing anything. And that's the reality of it. I mean, we just got straight into all the nitty-gritty of it. And I love it. This is what I live for. We were all ready.
We've been waiting for this conversation. I feel this is just right. It's just right. It feels good. Well, obviously, I mean, listeners, this amazing, the Regina over here has just this book. I cannot get over just how delicious The Art of Scandal is. Like it is so good. And like, I just want to like grab it every time I see it, like because I have it still in my NetGalley. Like I just want to like touch this. Sorry, that I just went in a whole different place. I didn't mean to go there.
It's fine. It's got that kind of cover. Like it's just those vibes.
I apologize. I did not mean to go there with this. Now you guys know I have an obsession with your cover. You have two different covers, right? Like there was a new one that was just released. Was that for Steamy Lit?
Yeah, it's for the Steam box with Steamy Lit. They did a special edition cover from Lenny Kaufman, who is phenomenal. Like I love her stuff. And it's funny, back before I got Pitch Wars, I was thinking about self-publishing some completely different books because I was going to write rom-coms, and I stumbled. It was before she kind of blew up as this cover artist. And I had reached out to her and was like, hey, I'm thinking about self-publishing these rom-coms. And I'd gotten on her schedule and we had been talking back and forth about it. And then I got Pitch Wars, and then I started working on something else. And I was like, I'm not sure. And then I got into Pitch Wars, and I just reached out to her. It's like, hey, can we like put this off? And she's like, oh yeah, like we'll work together at some point. And then I got the Steam box for my debut, and she's like, Lenny's doing your cover.
Wow.
Full
circle. Is so cool. That is amazing. I love that so much. And it feels like that because this industry, this business is I mean, it's huge, but also
Yeah.
not all at the same time. So a lot of these partnerships just sort of happen. And how cool is that? That like you've come full circle.
It is. And that's one thing that I try to keep in mind in every career. I've had like my legal career, like this career, you just really never know who you're talking to. And that is something I really take to heart. Like I really truly believe you get back what you put out in the world. So that's kind of how I navigate everything. That's how I navigate publishing, writing, all that kind of stuff. It takes no effort just to be kind to people. Like, and you just really never know who you're talking to. So, just be kind, respectful, and you put that out and it'll come back at some point. And it's like, we had a good relationship, and thankfully when they approached her to do my cover, she said yes. So if I'd have been a jerk to her, she might not have said that. So
yes, you're speaking my language. It's just like, honestly, those are the people that I gravitate towards as well, because like it's hard enough, right? Like you really do. And we talk about that a lot, the community that we gather around us. I think like it really is essential to stay in it long term, to have that community. That has that mindset of like, just be kind. Everybody's like just doing the best.
Yes. We're all out here, like we're working hard, we're struggling, we all have our own issues and insecurities, and you just never know what somebody's going through. So
that's it right there. That's just globally, I think that's just a good mindset to have. Just as a human being, just be kind. Be kind. Especially in this world we live in. I think a little kindness might surprise people at this point.
Yes, unfortunately.
It might just shock you. Well, tell us a little bit about yourself. I mean, did you always know you wanted to be a writer?
Not necessarily for a living. I always knew I wanted to write a book, like write books. I've always been a big reader. Like growing up, I spent most of my time in the library. Like we didn't have a whole lot growing up. So, going to the library was really important to my family. And, I used to read like 8 books a week, that sort of thing. I always say if I wasn't writing, I probably would have been in the bookish space in some capacity. So I always kind of in the back of my mind knew I wanted to write a book and kind of dreamed about it, but I never really truly believed that my writing was good enough. And it's interesting when I see like the idea of querying my first book. Like I could have done that. It just never occurred to me to do that. And so I wrote for years, just like to entertain myself. And then I got into fandom a little bit and wrote a lot. I wrote fan fiction a lot. So, in the book, Nathan's a fan artist. A lot of his experience is kind of based on me. Because I was writing in fandom and then I was posting original stories online and things. And I wrote, I would say like 11 books and novellas, like complete books and novellas, like just that way. And it never occurred to me like, hey, maybe you should query or try to get an agent. I was just like, but that is absolutely where I kind of found my voice as a writer. And the wonderful thing about fan fiction is you try on these different voices of characters, and it really teaches you how to capture a specific voice for a character so they don't all kind of sound the same. And so that's where I did that. But in the back of my mind, I was always like, I would like to write a book and put it out there. But my first thought was I'll self-publish it. Like it wasn't querying. And I didn't really seriously believe that that was something I could do and that people would want my story until I started doing I did Camp Nano, and then I applied to Pitch Wars. And I applied to Pitch Wars thinking maybe someone will want to read my book and give me feedback. That's literally the only reason I applied to Pitch Wars. Never once considered I was going to get in. I was just like, I just want someone to request my manuscript and tell me if it's garbage. Like that was it. And so when I woke up and my name was there, I was like, you're what? Like, no way. I was not prepared for that at all mentally. I wasn't prepared for how the showcase went, I just really, all of this has been unexpected and not really something that I ever kind of made the decision to pursue. It just kind of, I was like, oh, they like it. Oh, they like it. Oh, wait, we sold it. Okay. It's sold to who? All right. Like, that's how it's felt this whole time. So yeah, it's been like a ride. So
Oh, I love that so freaking much. That's so
Yeah.
beautiful.
yeah,
I'm a bit
it's like,
because it's like you're like a true artist. You were just working away. I'd love to know, like, what do you think drove you to want to create so much work? Was it just for the pure joy of
it's
it?
just love. Like, well, and it's a little bit like, I grew up, so I'm like in my 40s. So when I was reading, like, I came into reading through romance books. I read a lot of like Harlequin category and historicals and things like that. So I loved romance from like way back. And I was one of the first like Outlander readers. Like that's I was like, I was reading Outlander before it was cool.
Yes.
So,
yes. Thank you.
So like when I started writing stories, it was really because I could not find the kind of stories that I wanted to read with Black women. Like it pretty much was that. And even in fandom, I joke all the time. People are always like, well, which fandom did you write for? I was like, the fandoms with like 5 people and the characters that no one else was writing about because, they were like supporting characters and they didn't even have a home on the show. Like those characters with like no backstory. And that was typically like the women of color on the show. They were like the Black best friend or whatever. And I would just create these rich kind of backgrounds for them and just kind of post that online. And then there were some other women that were like, yes, I wish this was on the show. And so that's how I kind of engaged with writing. So yeah.
So you had like a community that you were posting and sharing the work. I love that.
Yes, it very much is a community and kind of like-minded people who were looking for those stories and could not find them anywhere else. And so it was a nice kind of space to just kind of grow into, okay, these are the stories I like to tell, that sort of thing. So
that is beautiful, honestly. Yeah. I mean, I just love that you just started for the love of writing and to give these characters that didn't have homes or backstories like a voice. And I think it's just so special and powerful. I think sometimes like people just want to write a book because they want to publish the book, but to just write is beautiful and profound and like such a good reminder, because like we're in this publishing world, we want to publish, but we started for a reason, and that was just because we loved it. And I think it's just I have goosebumps just thinking about like it's beautiful, it's powerful, it's I love it so much. What was your journey like after Pitch Wars? How was your querying and submission journey?
So that was pretty fast. So with Pitch Wars, I got my first offer like 3 days after the
wow.
Yeah, 3 days after the showcase was over, I got my first offer. And it's who the agent I signed with was my first offer. And she said, I didn't even finish this and I already know I want to talk to you. And which is great. And she's great. And then after that, I got like 7 more people, like offers from really great agents. And as someone who wasn't expecting any of this, it was very overwhelming for me. Because it's what you want to happen, but there is this kind of paralyzing fear of I don't want to make the wrong decision, particularly when all of the choices seem so amazing and they all have like particular strengths and things. But ultimately, I went with an agent that kind of saw me as a writer the way that I wanted to be seen as a writer, and that I felt like really understood my voice. And when I spoke to Sharon, I just felt calm, and I need that in my life. so I ended up going with Sharon, and we did a little bit of revision, but not like a whole lot. And we kind of just held off on sub like timing But we went on sub like a month or two later, and then we sold the book in like a month to Grand Central, and that was an interesting process because the way the romance market was at that time, which was in 2021, it was just almost purely like rom-coms in the adult space. And that was another reason why I never really expected this book to, go anywhere, because I looked at the market and said, that is not what I wrote. Like, I did not write that, which is funny because that's what I used to always write. So there you go. And so when we went on sub, I was a little, pessimistic about it. Like, we'll see what happens with this. And the person that offered on the book, so 7 Days in June had just come out, after I went on sub, and I read it and I said, oh my gosh, this is the type of love story I like, and then my agent reached out and said, yeah, Seema Mahoney wants to talk to you. And I was like, Seema Mahoney, I'm going to look her up. 7 Days in June. Wow. She had acquired 7 Days in June. And it was just kind of this perfect, everything just kind of aligned that way. And she's just fantastic. She's like the best editor that I could have had for my first book. She was wonderful to work with, and she worked so hard on that book. So it's just been a really great experience. So
that's so much. Honestly, all I can think while you talk is that quote, like, what you seek is seeking you. It really sounds like you found like the people that were just so right for your journey. And even like that sense of calm, like when we have agents on, we often talk about like how finding an agent, it's literally like finding like a life partner. And that's it. Like that sense of calm that you had, that's such like a valuable thing to have with somebody you're going to be working so closely with. I just love to hear it.
Yeah. And I mean, even during the submission process, because it definitely was, we went on submission at a time before like 7 Days of June had just come out. Before I Let Go hadn't come out yet. You Made a Fool of Death with Your Beauty hadn't come out yet. So there wasn't really like a big precedent for like, hardcover books written by Black women that are romance. Honey and Spice hadn't come out yet. Like those things hadn't come out yet. And so it was a little bit like, and it was understandable to me because people would get it and they're like, I'm not really sure what to do with this right now. And so, but my agent was just like, nope, it's fine. It's, the book, it's going to find a home. It's fine. She was just super calm about it. And I really appreciated that. And she was right. Like it found the right person at the right time.
Found it. You guys made the space and you belong in it, and you're flourishing in it. Can you tell our listeners about this amazing book?
Yeah. So I always start out with saying it's like Shonda Rhimes rebooted The Good Wife. And I just think that's really accurate.
That's good. Yeah.
Good.
It's about a woman, Rachel Abbott, who's married to this ambitious mayor of an affluent DC suburb who has his eyes on the White House. And when the book opens, she finds out that he is cheating on her in probably the worst possible way you can find out someone is cheating on you. And he confesses that he's fallen in love with someone else and that he wants to end the marriage, but he doesn't want to do it while he's in the middle of a re-election campaign for his mayoral position, and he doesn't want to mess with that. And so she makes this agreement with him because she has this tight prenup that if she maintains the status quo and fakes a happy marriage, he will give her $1 million and their big house in the suburb. And he agrees. But then she meets Nathan Vasquez, who is a 26-year-old artist. And she's going through some things and he's going through some things, and they just click. And she starts to question her deal and a lot of things because she starts having feelings for this young man. So,
it sounds delicious. What do you think? What inspired you to write it? What was your journey to writing it?
So the very, very original idea for this is like 13 years old. Like it's a super old kind of nugget of an idea I had like 13 years ago. And I kind of started writing on a little bit of the first chapter and stuff. And then I put it away, and then I kept coming back to it. And then I stopped writing for a long time when I got married and had my daughter. And during about 2019, like kind of right before COVID, I kind of was like, I really want to get back to writing. And then the pandemic happened and we all had time, right?
Yeah.
And so I went into my Dropbox and kind of went through my old writing and things like that, just looking for something to teach myself how to write again. And I kind of came across this and was like, oh, this was fun. And so I kind of pulled it out, and in the original version, it wasn't really an affair. It was just kind of like a general like betrayal like thing. And so I started thinking through kind of how I wanted to build out the concept. And I thought of Anthony Weiner and some of these other politicians, like how he got caught and stuff, and like his wife standing by him. And that just kind of inspired like Rachel's journey. And then I started thinking, and the way I develop romances is I always go, okay, well, who's the worst person for this person to fall in love with in these circumstances? And that's how I pick my love interest.
I love that. I love that so much.
That's my tip. And I was like, oh, like somebody who would cause a scandal. And so I just kind of started thinking through like, oh, he's younger and he's got some other secrets that I won't reveal. But yeah, so that's kind of where that idea came from. So
oh my gosh, that's fun. That's literally just so fun.
Yeah.
What's your writing style like? I mean, are you a pantser, plotter?
I am a plotter. So I think it comes from going to law school and all that stuff. It's all like spreadsheets and all that. You know, I'm very much a planner. I love the initial kind of brainstorming development period where I start kind of daydreaming about my characters, and I do a lot of research. I love doing research. So it's all like spreadsheets and color coded and all of that stuff. And I kind of build it out till I know the story shape of the book. And then like the drafting part is where kind of the inspiration hits, but I always kind of know like I'm being inspired within the confines of kind of a story I've already planned out, but like how it plays out specifically is where I'm like, he said that. Okay. So yeah. So I'm absolutely a planner. So
I'm jealous. My planning skills are, I try to plot, and then my brain takes me down a tangent, but I have the utmost admiration for serious plotters.
Yeah. Well, you know, and that happens with me too. There will be times where I like plan out a book and I'm like, it's going to go this way. And then I'll start writing it and I'll get to a certain point and I'm like, no, like that doesn't work. And a lot of times I will stop right there and kind of pull because I outline, but then when I draft, I tend to kind of put the detailed outline to the side and just use the beats to kind of go along with it. So if that happens, I kind of stop and go back to the detailed outline and kind of look and see where I might have taken a wrong turn. And I will go back and revise my outline as I go. So I don't like, it's like I outline, but I am not wedded to an outline at all.
Yeah.
Like, you know, if it changes, it changes. That's totally fine. But just having it keeps me kind of focused, so I don't write something that is just a mess that then I have to go back and fix.
Yeah.
And so yeah, it's just something to kind of keep me accountable and make sure things, when I'm changing things, I'm not breaking the book in the process.
That's so smart. I really like that. It's like you've got all these tools in the tool shed just waiting you can pull them out as you need them.
Yeah, like going back to the notes and go, oh yeah, that was the goal. Oh, that was the motivation. Oh, that's why that's not working. So yeah, that's my process.
You know what? I think I'm about to adapt that into my writing thing because I do like a basic skeleton. And I think that's the step I'm missing. Going back and being like, is this still following? Like, is the book still holding itself up?
Yes. And if it's not, that's fine. You just like, okay, let me fix this part in this skeleton, right? And then you go back. There have been times where that's happened. I've gotten 50% into a book and went, I made a huge mistake. And then I've gone back and kind of just, I'm the type of person that doesn't, I will start from the beginning and just kind of fix it, because I have a hard time I'm not really a fast drafter. I like to make sure I'm telling the correct story. Like the way it's told and the scenes may change, but if there's something that is a mistake in the trajectory of the story, I can't keep going. I have to go back and fix it. So
yeah, no, this is hitting, because I'm starting to think of, now that I finished revisions on my second book, I'm starting to work on a third or some sort of pitch. Yeah. And this is hitting, because this is exactly what I need to do, is like focus on something, outlining, like thinking of it. I think that's great. Let's go into the next question, which isn't really a fun one, but what has been the hardest part of your writing journey so far?
Honestly, it's probably just the nature of publishing. Because I'm not really used to, it's very opaque and confusing and not logical a lot of the times. And that, like, I'm one of those people that's very kind of like, make it make sense to me. And I like information. I'm the type of person, people joke about me, and they're like, you'd rather have bad news than no news. And I'm like, absolutely. Tell me all the bad things. Just tell me something, right? And with publishing, there is just huge, just like no news. And then when you get news, it's like inconsistent to some news you got before, or some news your buddy got over here. And that opaqueness of, I just want to be able to navigate this. I just want to write. Like the opaqueness of the industry is probably the hardest part, because you just don't have a whole lot of control over a lot except the book. And that's, for someone like me that's used to having lots of control over lots of things, that's just hard. So, yeah.
They don't tell you anything.
No.
Like, even if you ask, they still don't tell you half the time. So.
They tell you something that's like, that's not useful. It's like, thank you, but that doesn't answer my question. Like,
it's not pretty.
It's hitting. It's all it's just like a murky sea, isn't it? You're just like sailing in a murky sea. You're like, I don't know, am I gonna hit an island? Am I gonna find gold? You're just, it's just the way of it, isn't it? What about the most rewarding part for you?
I think the most rewarding part is like opening up writing to my writing to with other people, like finding critique partners and writing friends, and even working with an editor. When I used to write before, it was a very solitary process. Like the process of writing was solitary. And this journey has been the first time I really opened up my process to other people, and like, took feedback and worked with them, and then, met writer friends and talked about craft and talked about writing. And I love it. I will talk about writing and craft and all that stuff all day long. And I absolutely think it made me a much better writer. Like it really has. I am the biggest introvert in the world. I'm a super private person, but I love having a more open writing process, because I just think you just learn so much from other people, and it's been fantastic.
It's beautiful. And it's like, it feels like there's no people that get you like other writers in so many ways. And so they understand the introvertedness and, the need for privacy, because a lot of writers are the same way. So it's kind of this beautiful mixture of, we are all best friends, but we don't have to see each other.
It's like, all you have to say is, I'm on a deadline, and everybody's like, okay, fine. Yes. We'll see you in 6 months.
Exactly. That's the truth right there.
Yeah.
Well, looking back at all you've accomplished, what advice would you give a younger version of yourself before you started this journey?
Your writing is good. It's good enough. You can do this. don't wait. Like, you're writing these stories, people want to read your stories. It's good enough. So yeah. And also just like write what you love. Like, if you're writing something that you love, it's gonna be the best stuff you've written. So just lean into the things you love, and it'll be worth it. So
I really believe that. Like, if you're writing the things you love, like the more I talk about that a lot, but it's just been such a discovery for me that literally the more you lean into yourself and what brings you joy, it's
yes.
like that attracts your actual community.
Yeah.
So I kind of remember now, I read something the other day, it was like fitting in is the opposite of belonging. Was what I read. Belonging, when you're trying to fit in, and trying being the operative word, you like, it's what I did in high school, right? You like completely shift yourself, you change what you wear, you change what you're listening to try fit in. But when you belong, it's a group that accepts you as you are, and they like your natural quirks and stuff. And
it's really like bringing yourself into your work, right? It's like, don't hide yourself. Like, don't hide your voice, don't hide your identity. Like, all of that stuff is what makes your art unique and yours. And so I don't think anyone's ever moved a bunch of moved people to tears or made people passionate about a piece of art by by holding back or playing it safe or writing something that they're like, well, this fits in with every single other thing out there. That's really not how you get people passionate about your work, right? To get other people passionate about your work, you have to be passionate about your work. And that passion is contagious. And I think people can sense it when they're reading it. So
damn. Yes. That was good. Yeah. I just got hit. I was like, oh, that was good.
Like, that's our message. Don't play it safe. Right, what you cried.
That's all you had to say right there. That was good. That was damn good. Woo, I got chills. I almost had a heart attack. Everything. I was listening to you. Do you have a favorite quote you live by?
I don't know if it's a quote, but it's definitely something I live by. Like, I have two I live by. One is time management based. And, I work at a law school, and I tell students this all the time. Every time you say, I don't have time for something, what you're really saying is, that's not a priority for me. And I say that because, a lot of times people will say, like, how did you manage to write a book? Like, how did you manage to do this? And it's more about like making decisions about what's your priority at that moment. And a lot of times we're not really acting consistent with our priorities, and we don't realize it. And so when you rephrase it that way, it really makes you think about, like, what am I spending my time doing? So that, like, my students hear me I say that all the time, because they say that to me all the time. I don't have time. And I'm like, no, you're saying this isn't a priority. And when I phrase it that way, they're like, ooh.
Yeah, damn.
So that's my time management saying. My writing saying, this is because, the Artist Scandal has soap opera vibes. And that's where I was raised, on soaps, primetime soaps, daytime soaps, that sort of thing. And when I write, to remind myself to write into conflict and not away from conflict, I always say, everyone knows that the best place to come back from the dead is at a wedding. So if you watch soaps, you know what I'm talking about. Like, it's probably the wife thought you were dead and she's about to marry someone else. That's when you come. And so I always say that to myself, because a lot of times we protect our characters a lot, and we're kind of nervous about writing things. You're like, oh, that's pretty. And then I'm like, nope, it's time to come back from the dead's at a wedding, make it big, write into conflict. So that's my writing saying, to remind myself, like, the conflict is where the story is. Story, conflict. So.
Well, shit. I mean,
tucking that one away, to be honest, because you're right. You do instinctively try to protect your characters. 100%.
Yeah. Yeah. Like it's very much like, oh, there's this argument they could have. But you're like, oh, that would be rough. And I'm like, yeah.
Give it to them.
Wouldn't it?
Ooh, I love it. Well, I see we have less than a minute to go before we get cut off. So no, do not say sorry. It was perfect. It was everything we needed and more. You are amazing. Honestly, thank you for taking the time just to come and chat with us and bring us to Writer Church, because that's exactly what you did.
Well, thank you for giving me opportunity. It's fun. So
yes. Well, we'll have you back on for the next book and the book after that and all of your amazing tales to come. So thank you for joining us. Seriously.
You're welcome. This is fun. Thank you both.